Buffalo.
Table of contents, Buffalo.
All about Buffalo, New York with visiting and touring information. Geography. History. Attractions. And other points of interest.
Dr. Sydney Soclof. drsydney22@gmail.com. 2022. Narration by Dr. Sydney Soclof.
Zoe Phonemes.
And Nathan Koltov. For a more complete discussion of YouTube navigation, please go to this video using the link here.
Chapter 2. Introduction to Buffalo.
This is the seal of the city of Buffalo.
Buffalo has these nicknames: the City of Good Neighbors, the Queen City, the Nickel City, Queen City of the Lakes, and the City of Light. Buffalo is at the extreme eastern end of Lake Erie.
Here is Buffalo at the extreme eastern end of Lake Erie. Buffalo is also at the far western edge of the state of New York. It is near the Niagara River flows out from Lake Erie, and just to the south of Niagara Falls.
This shows the U.S. Interstate Highways I-90 and I-190 in the Buffalo area. Here is Buffalo and nearby towns. Niagara Falls is only 20 miles north of Buffalo.
This is Buffalo and vicinity.
Across the Niagara River from Buffalo is Fort Erie in Ontario. This is a satellite view of the Buffalo and the Niagara Falls area.
This is a map of the downtown area of Buffalo.
Buffalo is the second largest city in the state of New York. Located in western New York on the eastern shores of Lake Erie and at the head of the Niagara River, Buffalo is the principal city of the Buffalo-Niagara Falls metropolitan area and the seat of Erie County. Buffalo has a population of 278,000, 2020 census, and a metropolitan area population of 891,000, 2020 census. It ranks as the 76th largest city in the United States. Chapter 3. Name origin of Buffalo.
It is clear, of course, that there are no bison or buffalo in the area. Most popular accounts hold that the name Buffalo is a corruption of the French phrase beau fleuve, beautiful river, a phrase said to have been exclaimed by French explorers upon seeing the Niagara River. This speculation, however, is contradicted by primary sources. French explorers actually referred to the Niagara River in print as Rivière aux Chevaux, River of Horses. What is clear is that there were no bison in the area, and that the settlement of Buffalo took its name from Buffalo Creek, and that Buffalo Creek first appeared on a map in 1759 or 1760.
Although the beau fleuve theory is the least plausible of several theories, it is unlikely that Buffalo's true name origin will ever be conclusively established.
Chapter 4. The history of Buffalo.
The Buffalo region was originally settled by the Neutral Nation. Later, the Senecas of the Iroquois Confederacy conquered the Neutrals. Buffalo started around 1789 as a small trading community near Buffalo Creek.
In 1804, Joseph Ellicott, a principal agent of the Holland Land Company, designed a radial straight and grid system that branches out from downtown like bicycle spokes and is one of only 3 radial street plans in the U.S.
The new village was to be called New Amsterdam, but the name was soon changed to Buffalo.
Niagara Square is the central focus of the radial street plan and remains the center of downtown Buffalo. During the War of 1812, on December 30, 1813, the village of Buffalo was burned by British forces. On November 4, 1825, the Erie Canal was completed with Buffalo strategically positioned at the western end of the system.
Two villages had competed to be the terminus, Black Rock, on the Niagara River, and Buffalo, at the eastern tip of Lake Erie.
Buffalo expended great energy to widen and deepen Buffalo Creek to make it navigable and to create a harbor at its mouth. Buffalo, with its larger harbor capacity and greater distance from the shores of Canada, a recent antagonist during the War of 1812, won the competition over Black Rock, and grew into a large city, encompassing its former competitor. This map shows Buffalo and its former competitor Black Rock at the western terminus of the Erie Canal. Black Rock is now a suburb of Buffalo.
At the time of the completion of the Erie Canal, the population was about 2,400. Buffalo grew quickly after the opening of the Erie Canal in 1825, with the city as its western terminus. The Erie Canal brought a surge in population and commerce which led Buffalo to incorporate as a city in 1832, with a population of about 10,000. By 1900, Buffalo was the eighth largest city in the country and went on to become a major railroad hub, the largest grain milling center in the country, and the home of the largest steel-making operation in the world. Grain elevators were invented here in 1842. Buffalo's collection of grain elevators is the largest in the world.
The city of Buffalo has long been home to African Americans. An example is the 1828 Village Directory, which listed 59 names of colored heads of families. In 1845, construction was begun on the Macedonia Baptist Church, commonly called the Michigan Street Baptist Church. This African American church was an important meeting place for the abolitionist movement in 1974. The church was added to the National Register of Historic Places.
Abolitionist leaders such as William Wells Brown made their home in Buffalo. Buffalo was also a terminus point of the Underground Railroad, with many fugitives crossing the Niagara River from Buffalo to Fort Erie in Ontario and Freedom. During the 1840s, Buffalo's port continued to develop. Both passenger and commercial traffic expanded, with some 93,000 passengers heading west from the port of Buffalo. Grain and commercial goods shipments led to repeated expansion of the harbor. The world's first steam-powered grain elevators were constructed here, which enabled faster unloading of lake freighters.
The Civil War years saw a great increase in the population, increasing from 81,029 to 94,210 in 1865. In addition to sending many soldiers to the Union effort, Buffalo manufacturers supplied important war materials.
For example, the Niagara Steam Forge Works manufactured turret parts for the ironclad ship USS Monitor.
At the dawn of the 20th century, local mills were among the first to benefit from hydroelectric power generated via the Niagara River.
Buffalo got the nickname City of Lights at this time due to the widespread electric lighting in 1881. Buffalo deployed the first electric streetlights in the United States.
Buffalo was also part of the automobile revolution, hosting car builders such as Pierce early in the 20th century. Chapter 5. Pan American Exposition of 1901.
The Pan American Exposition of 1901 in Buffalo was organized by the Pan American Exposition Company, formed in 1897. Cayuga Island was initially chosen as the place to hold the exposition because of the island's proximity to Niagara Falls, which was a huge tourist attraction. But when the Spanish-American War broke out in 1898, plans were put on hold.
After the war, there was a heated competition between Buffalo and Niagara Falls over the location. Buffalo won for two main reasons. First, Buffalo had a much larger population of roughly 350,000 people. It was the 8th largest city in the United States. Second, Buffalo had better railroad connections, as it was within a day's journey by rail for over 40 million people.
In July 1898, Congress pledged $500,000 for the exposition to be held at Buffalo.
Another helpful factor was that Nikola Tesla had recently invented a three-phase system of alternating current power transmission for distant transfer of electricity. This allowed designers to light the exposition in Buffalo using power generated 25 miles, 40 kilometers, away at Niagara Falls.
This is a map of the Pan American Exposition in 1901 at Buffalo. This is one of the buildings of the Pan American Exposition of 1901.
This is the electric Tui, the crowning feature of the exposition.
Chapter 6. McKinley Assassination. The Pan American Exposition of 1901 is most remembered because U.S. President William McKinley was assassinated by an anarchist, Leon Czolgosz, at the Temple of Music on September 6, 1901.
McKinley gave an address at the exposition the previous day. Expositions are the timekeepers of progress. They record the world's advancements. They stimulate the energy, enterprise, and intellect of the people, and quicken human genius. They go into the home. They broaden and brighten the daily life of the people. They open mighty storehouses of information to the student.
This is the McKinley Monument on Delaware Avenue in Buffalo.
This is the location of the Theodore Roosevelt Inaugural National Historic Site. When the fay ended, the buildings we demolished and the grounds we cleared and subdivided for residential streets. A boulder marking the site of McKinley's assassination was placed in a grassy median on Fordham Drive in Buffalo.
The sole surviving structure, the New York State Building, was designed to permanently outlast the exposition and be used by the Buffalo and Erie County Historical Society as a museum. Designated a National Historic Landmark in 1987, it can be visited on Nottingham Court. The latter part of the 20th century saw a reversal of fortunes. By the year 2000, the city had fallen back below its 1900 population levels. The rerouting of Great Lakes shipping by the opening of the St. Lawrence Seaway was a factor in the decline of the city.
The closing or relocating of many of the steel mills and other heavy industries in the area also contributed to the decline.
The link to Fort Erie in Ontario, known as the Peace Bridge, was opened in 1927. The splendid Buffalo Central Terminal was finished just weeks before the Wall Street crash of 1929. Chapter 7. The population of Buffalo. With the opening of the St. Lawrence Seaway in 1957, which cut the city off from valuable trade routes, deindustrialization, and the nationwide trend of suburbanization, the city's economy began to deteriorate.
Like most formerly industrial cities of the Great Lakes region, Buffalo has suffered through several decades of population decline brought about by the loss of its industrial base.
The city's population peaked in 1950 when it was the 15th largest city in the United States. Its population has declined every year since, particularly during the late 1970s and early 1980s, when the city lost nearly one-third of its population in only 5 years.
The demographic change and the impact of such change on the industrial cities of the region, including Buffalo, is significant. Based on the 2006 U.S. Census estimate, Buffalo's current population is equivalent to its population in the year 1890, reversing nearly 120 years of demographic change.
Chapter 8. Buffalo Architecture. At one time, Buffalo had more millionaires than any other city in the country. During the 1880s and 1890s, Delaware Avenue had achieved its exalted status as one of the eminent addresses in America.
Delaware Avenue has many mansions set amidst tree-shaded lawns and elegant gardens. Most of the city's 60 millionaires lived in a manner that would have astonished antebellum residents.
This is a map of Buffalo showing Delaware Avenue. This is the Grace Millard Knox House at 800 Delaware Avenue. This was erected from 1915 to 1918 in French Renaissance style.
This is the Richmond Lockwood House at 844 Delaware Avenue. This was erected in 1918 as a 2.5-story English Tudor Revival manor house. This is the Charles W. Goodyear House at 888 Delaware Avenue. This was erected in 1902. This is a 2.5-story house in a style derived from the French Regency style. This was the Caroline Tripp Clement House and is now the Red Cross Building at 786 Delaware Avenue. This was erected in 1914 in English Tudor Revival, English Medieval Manor style. Buffalo has the country's largest park system designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux, including Delaware Park. Buffalo was the first city for which Olmsted designed, in 1869, an interconnected park and parkway system rather than standalone parks. The Guarantee Building, by Louis Sullivan, was one of the first steel-supported, curtain-walled buildings in the world, and its 13 stories made it, at the time it was built, 1895, the tallest building in Buffalo and one of the world's first true skyscrapers. It is a National Historic Landmark.
This was originally the New York State Asylum for the Insane. It is Richardsonian Romanesque in style, and was the largest commission designed by prominent architect Henry Hobson Richardson. The grounds of this hospital were designed by Olmsted. Though currently in a state of disrepair, New York State has allocated funds to restore this treasure.
There are several buildings in Buffalo by Frank Lloyd Wright, including the Darwin D. Martin House, George Barton House, William H. Heath House, Walter V. Davidson House, the Graycliff Estate, as well as the now demolished Larkin Administration Building. Buffalo has more Frank Lloyd Wright buildings than any other city except Chicago.
The Kleinhans Music Hall was designed by Eliel Saarinen and Eero Saarinen.
Chapter 9. Buffalo Present and Future.
Situated at the confluence of Lake Erie and the Buffalo and Niagara Rivers, Buffalo is a waterfront city. The city's rise to economic power came through its waterways in the form of transshipment, manufacturing, and an endless source of energy. Buffalo's waterfront remains, though to a lesser degree, a hub of commerce, trade, and industry. These no longer hold the answer to future, long-term prosperity which may be in the medical and service industries.
A major portion of Buffalo's waterfront is being transformed from industrial use to social and recreational activity. Recently excavated and rewatered is the Erie Canal commercial slip, which is the original western terminus of the Erie Canal system.
Buffalo is home to 3 State University of New York SUNY institutions. Buffalo State College, a comprehensive college, and the University at Buffalo, one of the few university centers in the SUNY system.
Each is the largest institution of its type in the system. Combined, they account for roughly 40,000 students in the area. Erie Community College is also affiliated with SUNY.
Like many cities across the country, Buffalo is enjoying new investment in the 2000s. Economic development in the city was marked at $4 billion in 2007 compared to a $50 million average for the previous 10 years.
Buffalo and the surrounding area were long involved in railroad commerce, steel manufacture, automobile production, Great Lakes shipping, and grain storage. Most of these industries have left the city through the years. Major steel production no longer exists in the area, although several smaller steel mills remain in operation.
The loss in industries is in line with others such as Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Youngstown that have had to adjust to changing economic conditions. While some cities such as Pittsburgh have made adjustments with mixed results, Buffalo is more in line with Cleveland and is faced with continual economic problems and declining populations.
Buffalo has increasingly become a center for bioinformatics and human genome research, including work by researchers at the University of Buffalo and the Roswell Park Cancer Institute. This consortium is known as the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus.
The traditional reputation of Buffalo as a blue-collar industrial town no longer applies, as much of this industry has left the area. The regional economy can now best be described as a mix of industrial, light manufacturing, high technology, and service-oriented private sector companies. The most common of Buffalo's nicknames is the Queen City. This first appeared in print in the 1840s, referring to Buffalo being the second largest city in New York State after New York City.
The Queen City was also used during the 1800s to describe Buffalo as the second largest American city on the Great Lakes after Chicago.
Buffalo has also been called the Nickel City due to the appearance of a bison on the back of Indian head nickel in the early part of the 20th century. The City of Good Neighbors refers to the helpful, friendly spirit of its people.
In the early 20th century, Buffalo began calling itself the City of Light both because of the plentiful hydroelectric power made possible by nearby Niagara Falls, and because it was the first city in America to have electric street lights. Buffalo was first settled primarily by New Englanders. The first wave of European immigrants was a large influx of Germans. The city was further populated by immigrants from Ireland, who were escaping famine, and many becoming construction workers on the Erie Canal. Then there were other immigrant groups, including Polish, Italian, Sicilian, Jewish, and more recently Latino populations. All of these have made Buffalo a melting pot of ethnic cultures. The newest immigrants are from Somalia, Sudan, Asia, and the Arab world.
Buffalo wings, hot wings, chicken wings, or wings are chicken wing sections called wings or flats, and wing domettes that are often but not always fried and then almost always coated in sauce.
Traditional Buffalo-style chicken wing sauce is composed of two ingredients: a vinegar-based cayenne pepper hot sauce and butter. Distancing itself from its industrial past, Buffalo is redefining itself as a cultural, banking, educational, medical center, and architectural tourism destination.
In 2001, USA Today named Buffalo the winner of its City with a Heart contest, proclaiming it the nation's friendliest city. Buffalo is also a two-time winner of the All-America City Award.
Chapter 10. Geography and Climate. The climate of Buffalo. A major feature of Buffalo's climate is the very heavy wintertime snowfall, known as the lake effect snow. This map of the snowfall in western New York State shows that the annual snowfall in the Buffalo area can reach close to 100 inches, 250 cm, and even up to more than 160 inches in some of the higher elevation regions.
An example is the 2006 to 2007 winter season, which saw snowfalls reaching 100 inches in Buffalo, and up to 150 inches in some of the suburban regions. Evaporation from the Great Lakes develops into clouds moving east, dropping snow as they go. The effect of the Great Lakes on weather in the region is called the lake effect.
In winter, the moisture picked up by the prevailing winds from the west can produce very heavy snowfall, especially along lake shores to the east such as Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Ontario, and New York.
The lakes also moderate seasonal temperatures somewhat by absorbing heat and cooling the air in summer, then slowly radiating that heat in autumn.
To analyze lake effect snow, you have to take into consideration the fact that the Great Lakes are able to absorb a large amount of sunlight. As a result, the Great Lakes are able to store more heat than the surrounding land, especially during the fall and winter seasons. The temperature contrast between the Great Lakes and the air around the lakes can lead to lake effect snow. Here's how the winter phenomenon works. Warm air from the Great Lakes will start to rise. Next, a cold air mass driven by the wind will start to move over the relatively warm waters of the lakes. The cold, dry air mass will then pick up moisture rising from the lakes and continue to travel to the opposite shore. Clouds will form and lead to precipitation in the form of snow. The snow belts, or the strips of land adjacent to the Great Lakes, can see anywhere from 200 to 300 inches of lake effect snow a year. Another place you can find significant lake effect snow in the U.S. is the Great Salt Lake in Utah.
Lake effect snow is caused when very cold air flows over the relatively warmer water of a large lake. Intense evaporation from the lake surface under these conditions forms convective clouds that cannot contain all of this water, and some of it falls back to the surface as snow.
Lake effect snow showers often form into bands or lines, with abrupt edges to the falling snow.
One location can receive a foot of snow, while another location just a few miles away receives only flurries.
Buffalo is probably the most famous location for receiving large amounts of lake effect snow. Once the lake surface cools to near 32 degrees Fahrenheit in the late winter, the lake effect snow mechanism weakens considerably, and if the lake freezes, it stops altogether. Buffalo has the sunniest and driest summers of any major city in the Northeast, but still has enough rain to keep vegetation green and lush. Summers are marked by plentiful sunshine and moderate humidity and temperature. It receives, on average, over 65% of possible sunshine in June, July, and August.
Obscured by the notoriety of Buffalo's winter snow is the fact that Buffalo benefits from other lake effects, such as the cooling southwest breezes off Lake Erie in summer, that gently temper the warmest days.
As a result, the Buffalo station of the National Weather Service has never recorded an official temperature greater than 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Rainfall is moderate but typically occurs at night. The stabilizing effect of Lake Erie continues to inhibit thunderstorms and enhance sunshine in the immediate Buffalo area through most of July. Winters in western New York are generally cold and snowy, but are changeable and include frequent thaws and rain as well.
Winters can also be quite long in western New York, usually spanning from mid-November to early April. Snow covers the ground more often than not from late December into early March, but periods of bare ground are not uncommon.
Over half of the annual snowfall comes from the lake effect process and is very localized. Lake effect snow occurs when cold air crosses the relatively warm lake waters and becomes saturated, creating clouds and precipitation downwind.
Due to the prevailing winds, Areas south of Buffalo receive much more lake-effect snow than locations to the north. The lake snow machine starts as early as mid-October, peaks in December, then virtually shuts down after Lake Erie freezes in mid to late January. Snow does not typically impair the city's operation, but did cause significant damage, as with the October 2006 storm. Will it be hot? Or will it be cold in Buffalo?
Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Buffalo.
Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Celsius throughout the year in Buffalo.
Precipitation in Buffalo.
Here is the average precipitation in inches throughout the year in Buffalo. The total yearly precipitation is 40.5 inches, or 1,029 millimeters. Here is the average precipitation in millimeters throughout the year in Buffalo. Here is the average number of days per month with precipitation throughout the year in Buffalo. We see that it rains about 14 days every month throughout the year.
Chapter 11. Recommended videos. Buffalo.
Top 15 things to do in Buffalo, New York.
Top 20 things to do in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York, the top 10 places you need to see.
Buffalo, America's best designed city.
Table of contents, Buffalo.
Thanks for watching.